Welcome to season 1 of Top Crop.
We found out that the ground is alive.
Trying to get done a little quicker and trying to simplify things a little bit.
You know, there's only so much money to go around. I look for big wins.
I've done 42 buckets since 3 a.m. non-stop. But this half of a truckload of corn will make us about 40 grand. So I know some people wouldn't worry about a half a truckload like we are, but 40 grand's a bunch of money. So that one kernel, that is a variety that nobody commercially grows. They thought it was extinct. It's called Blonde Butcher. And we're gonna try to get somebody to actually send this through a color sorter to where we should have enough to grow about 5 acres of Blonde Butcher this coming year, which, unless somebody calls into the show and says differently, it'll probably be the first 5 acres of Blonde Butcher grown in probably 150 years. And then we'll make that seed stock available to other farmers. The grits, the cornmeal, the bourbons, the whiskeys that this stuff makes is just absolutely phenomenal. And I think we've lost a little bit of that characteristic in modern grains because we've increased production so much, but the flavor of this is just second to none. So like I said, there's a few other ones, like this one right here is that's a blue Claridge. I mean, we've got a little bit of cross pollination, but the one that we're going to sort out is those blondes and get that Blonde Butcher back in production. You can be prepared as you want to be. You can do maintenance checks, look at all your equipment, and something as small as a $20 bearing can mess your day up. And it makes you contemplate, why in the world did I even do this? I mean, in the end, I think it's worth it, but anybody that thinks farming's easy, they come out here for a day, I'll leave a truck here for them to unload without an auger. If this didn't make such good alcohol that I'm going to enjoy later tonight, I don't know if we'd grow this variety again after this. I only ever used these side chutes 2 times in my entire farming career. First year we harvested corn, I tried using the side chute instead of rolling the hopper underneath it, and I quickly learned that is not the way to do it, and I still don't like them now. And it just doesn't feed good from the other side. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to shovel one more bucket full, and then we're gonna fill them totes up underneath from the gate, and we should be able to go over there and pick corn. Well, from 3 a.m. to now, we've done roughly about 550 bushels. If we just grew commodity corn like everybody else, at 2 a.m., I could have rolled the tarp over it and went to the elevator this morning, been unloaded by 8 or 9 back in the field, and been on my way. But because we go for those specialty markets, try to make more money, sometimes it's a pain. Bet you that's $25. Yeah. Hey, at the end of the day, at least I didn't leave the hopper bottom door open and drop it on the ground that way. I mean, roughly we can get, we'll clean it, gravity table it, have a germ purity test ran on it, and what makes seed grades worth $150 every 50 pounds. Doing the math in my head, I'd say that's close to $170 a bushel. If you grind it up into grits and cornmeal, a bushel will make about 50 pounds of product, and you got your byproduct that you dump off. At $7 a pound, it's worth $300 a bushel. We had a lot of deer damage. The deer seem to eat this open pollinated corn a little harder than hybrid. But at 92 bushels average on that farm, even if we make 50 bucks a bushel off of it, you know, you're talking $4,500 an acre. You know, you bump that up to selling it for seed grade, just call it 100 bucks a bag. You're now looking at $9,200 an acre. And we get to save our seed, replant it. I mean, we just clean it and grade it. I always said there was only two ways of farming. Farming with money or for money. We ain't farming with money yet, because you can see we're doing this.
We've been very happy with the roadability. They've been very smooth on the road, not bouncy. They don't have the loud sprayer noise. So we're going to be putting a lot of high road miles, a lot of heat in the summertime. So we're really excited to see that, and the less compaction, our clay soils getting over it, and sometimes even tougher conditions.
We have a very aggressive warranty on these. They're 7 years. It even covers field hazard and stubble protection, which means that, see how it really does feel. We have a great quality tire, and we're standing behind that.
Cornstalk stubble is extremely hard on tires, so that's really good for us.
Fungicide we're using is Veltima, because our third year with it. It's been working great. There has been some tar spot already spotted in northern Ohio. Normally we've already flown all this corn, but we was able to wait until July 26th today. It's already past blister stage, starting to fill out already. Clearly we've been able to keep disease pressure away, and Veltima should protect us all the way through the rest of the season.
We've really been fine-tuning our in-furrow program over the past couple of years and running some products that are really making a difference with this early season root growth. So we love our Pivot Bio, using that product #1, and then we're adding some things to not only feed that Pivot Bio, but feed the corn plant as well. So some sugar sources, a carbon source, just trying to get these little plants off to the best start we can get them.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Top Crop. I'm Russell Hedrick. I'm here today with Jeff Lambert from Pivot Bio. We're getting to the end of corn season. We're finishing up harvest, and this field here happens to be where we're doing our plot work, where we're looking at Pivot Bio, putting it in furrow and seeing what results we've seen this year. So we're going to go out, take a look at some of the years, and then we'll start picking plots today. The first 12 rows we have here is our check strip. So even when we're using Pivot Bio or other products, we're always using a check strip. That way we can kind of tell exactly what the product's doing on the farm. And even within the Pivot Bio plot, they say you can reduce the 40 pounds of nitrogen. A lot of growers sometimes don't reduce that. So that's one of the things we also did in the Pivot plot, is we have our farm management nitrogen at a normal rate. And then we've actually got 18 rows where we reduce the 40 pounds of nitrogen to see if we either maintain yield or maybe actually we enhance yield where we maintained our farm program. And so we'll go out, we'll pull a few ears from different areas and kind of see what we see on the ground first, and then we'll run it through the combine. This is the check strip we're in. We've got some rows of other product between us and the Pivot, so let's actually head out, and that way we can see where our plot markets are, and then we'll go down and come back in. We visited this one back in the first of the season. This is my no corn check strip to see how it yields compared to the rest of the field. I don't know a lot of other farmers that make this mistake, but this just happened to be one right by the road so everybody could see it all season. So
that may be the most profitable acre on the farm right here.
It could have been. So let's see, this is our check strip ears right here. Let's go down here and pull some from the full plot. So the one thing that I will say is these ears may not be a lot bigger than our check strip, but the consistency of the ear size is a lot better in this plot than the check strip so far. All right, so we've got these now. When we do our reduced nitrogen, it's this row here,
Starting here.
over 18.
Okay.
See where the dry got it and it sucked it in? Pollination. This one from the check strip is pretty close to what we're seeing here, but the rest of them.
This is 18 by 35.
But, I mean, the biggest thing that I would say is this one may be a hair longer in kernel count, but so if you look at where we applied the pivot, that right there is probably going to run, I would say easily 80, 85,000 kernels per bushel. That one right there, that's easily a 90, 95,000. Yeah. So I mean, we're 2 more rounds. So actually, we're actually going to pick up more kernels on this one, even though it isn't quite as long. But kernel depth, kernel size is definitely showing up in the check strip where we didn't have the product. And I know whenever, we can look at it when we go up there, but I know when Chad came out and Michaela came out from Triangle, and what's the test that we do?
The Reese and Evans test.
The Reese and Evans test. Whenever they were doing that, you know, and we got our results back, we were averaging about 48 pounds of nitrogen or a little bit more on the plot, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been skeptical of this product from the beginning. You know, it's kind of hard when you're trying new things, but I've definitely seen some good results from it.
Well, you know, and there's a lot of people that use it for the first time come up and say, you know, hey, it's Pivot Bio, especially at the Southern Farm Show. Oh man, there's Pivot Bio. Hey, I've used your product. I've used y'all's product before. And, you know, and I always ask them, well, what did you like about it? And, you know, and they tell me that their crop late season just seems to hold on a little bit better, seems to be a little bit healthier, holds up under stress a little bit better. And I think that's just because of the robustness of the plant that we're producing with that little bit of extra ammonia fertilizer there.
Well, I mean, that's pretty daggum good kernel depth right there.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, it's completely filled out. It's not shrunken in. It's not got a huge dent in it. I don't know. Test weight should be really good on this too then. Well, if you want to, we can jump in the combine and we'll go ahead and we'll start down here on this check strip, pick the check strip, and then we'll come back into the full rate of nitrogen in the pivot and see what kind of results we're getting out of it.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Farmers deserve a nitrogen that works as hard as they do, one that stays with the crop until the job is done. It's time to turn to a better nitrogen with Pivot Bio.
Fungicide we're using is Veltima, because our 3rd year with it. It's been working great. There has been some tar spot already spotted in northern Ohio. Normally we've already flown all this corn, but we was able to wait until July 26th today. It's already past blister stage, starting to fill out already. Clearly we've been able to keep disease pressure away, and Veltima should protect us all the way through the rest of the season. In the past 3 years, we're 365 GDUs behind schedule. So that is one of our concerns here. You know, if we don't have solar, we don't have GDUs, we don't have photosynthesis, we don't have energy into that plant. So that's where, when you guys approached about Architect and being able to add that on at that V5 time frame, I was really excited for it. Definitely looks like it's doing its job here. I'm excited to take it to yield and see if we can't get it on every acre next year.
That's for
Is that one still on?
Yeah, the red light's blinking.
Okay.
All right, so we're zeroed out.
Ready to go.
Zach, here,
I'm good.
have you an arm rest. That helps.
You got me fixed up. There's your last bit of corn. A light at the end of the tunnel.
We have earned every kernel this year. Absolutely earned every kernel.
Now, did you have your dry land high yield plot again this year?
I did.
You did one? Okay, cool.
It got 2 floods and a tornado.
Oh man,
Let's see, I planted and within 12 hours it had about shoulder deep water on me. And we dug holes with a little mini excavator, set pumps up, and we pumped water off for 8 days.
oh my God.
Got it dry enough, filled the holes in, leveled it up a little bit, and replanted. Didn't get no rain from then, which was the end of April,
Yeah.
until right about the 1st of June, and it was about V6, V7, and it got flooded again. And then September, we had one tornado that come in the morning, and then there was another tornado that come in the afternoon, and the one that come through the afternoon demolished everything. We had over 30 trees we cut and pushed out of the way with the loader just to get into the field. But we still picked it. It's not a normal high yield plot, but I think it still did over 200 bushels. And for
Even with all the stresses it's had.
well, the stresses it had, it didn't get no fungicides. It didn't get any of our foliar. It didn't get the last 100 pounds of AMS on it. You know, it did pretty good. Yeah, if there was ever a season to know if a product worked or a seed worked in a high stress, low water environment.
Yeah, this was the year.
This is the year.
Yep.
We've really been fine-tuning our in-furrow program over the past couple of years and running some products that are really making a difference with this early season root growth. So we love our Pivot Bio, using that product #1, and then we're adding some things to not only feed that Pivot Bio, but feed the corn plant as well. So some sugar sources, a carbon source, just trying to get these little plants off to the best start we can get them.
You always in the 5 range, or you got some 4s, 3s? You ever gone as, what's the lowest you've planted?
My favorite is a 5-1 to a 5-2 indeterminate. The 5-1 indeterminate that we have been banging just phenomenal yields out with, they dropped it. So we switched to a 4-9 indeterminate on most of our acres, some 4-7s. And I needed something a little bit later just because of how long it takes us to harvest.
Sure.
And like I said, this 5-4, this is the first time we planted it this year.
What, who's the breeder? Is it Ag Venture?
Ag Venture. But I mean,
Yeah, look at the nodules on it.
that's what I'm saying, man. That right there is what I want to focus on, is that main stem feeder, how much we get around it. I mean, these are nice. That right there is what helps pack on the yield.
Right.
But we had a pretty tough, we only had 0.8 of an inch of rain in July, and we barely had over an inch in August.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
been a dry one, man.
Well, you would expect BBs, but those are, I mean, if we weigh those out, those are probably 2,700 seeds per pound, which isn't bad for the year we've had. This being our late group 5-4s, we didn't have a lot of disease pressure in the early part of the season. We started picking up some rainfall there in August. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough that it moved some disease in. And when we came out here and scouted the field, we saw some issues, so we decided to spray Revitec. We got Revitec sprayed across this side of the field, and we left a check strip on the other side. And we went north to south in the field, so if there's any soil variation, we'll also pick that up in our check strip. But you can see where we've got a lighter strip of beans. It actually looks like they've lodged a little bit. That may have been plant health or how the dry down was, but it looks like they're down just a little bit there in the unsprayed area as well. So we'll pick them today and see, you know, what our return on investment is, where we're spraying Revitec and we're getting good disease control versus where we left our check strip in the same field. And that's the biggest way we can tell the ROI on this. So you were saying that y'all had a new one coming out?
Yeah, so Revitech has been, our go-to soybean fungicide since 2020. It's excellent. It brings 3 great chemistries to the table that, pack disease punch, but also has what BASF launched as a plant health fungicide, right? And that could be what you're seeing in the field with them kind of lodging over. And like we were talking earlier, they stay greener a little bit longer. And I didn't take a lot of science classes in college, but photosynthesis, if you're greener, you're respirating more, and if you're respirating, you're producing energy, right? So that's been pretty much the pitch with BASF plant health fungicides. We're focusing in the South because Revitech will still be available throughout the country. In the Midwest, that'll probably still be the focus. But we'll have Revilock pretty much from North Carolina south through the Delta. And what that's going to do is kind of double that amount of Revasol that is in Revitech to give us even better disease control.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yes, sir.
Well, as a grower, if I still needed the strobe, would I still be able to actually still get the Revitech in this area as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we're not pulling anything. We're just adding something to it.
Yep. So essentially, we'll have all options available. If you think like specifically in years like this where we have extreme drought conditions, like Revitech is still probably going to be the choice. But if we have a lot of rain and a lot of disease pressure, and we need that extra kick with that extra active that's in there, that'll also be on the table.
And that's one thing I'll say about our farm is our farm doesn't really do the preventative passes. Now, if we're planting early and on time with the crop rotation we've got, using the cover crops, using some of the ways that we're actually breaking down and not having as much disease make it through essentially the plant cycle. We typically don't use fungicides on every one of our acres, but if we're later planting in corn like this year, we typically see that southern rust moving up and our corn is still in that R1 to R3 range. We're definitely seeing some issues with disease coming in that time of year if we're planting late. Putting out Valtima the last 2 years on those later planted fields has definitely protected a lot of yield. I know last year we had 3 farms. We had gray leaf on 2 of them. We had southern rust come in on a really later planted farm. We averaged 27 bushels more where we put our Valtima out. And I mean, we do a lot of product trials. We work with a lot of companies and try their products out. And so we get a lot of good data and we're able to measure that out. And Valtima was one of them, 27 bushels. I mean, that's how much disease pressure. We had so much rain last year. It really protected us on the end of the season there.
We've really been fine-tuning our in-furrow program over the past couple of years and running some products that are really making a difference with this early season root growth. So we love our Pivot Bio, using that product #1, and then we're adding some things to not only feed that Pivot Bio, but feed the corn plant as well. So some sugar sources, a carbon source, just trying to get these little plants off to the best start we can get them.
We've been very happy with the roadability. They've been very smooth on the road, not bouncy. They don't have the loud sprayer noise. So we're going to be putting on a lot of high road miles, a lot of heat in the summertime. So we're really excited to see that, and the less compaction, our clay soils getting over it, and sometimes even tougher conditions.
We have a very aggressive warranty on these. They're 7 years, even covers field hazard and stubble protection, which means that, see, it really does feel we have a great quality tire and we're standing behind that.
Corn stalk stubble is extremely hard on tires, so that's really good for us.